Thank you very much for being on the programme today, Mr Lewis. Late-night parties, people getting so drunk that they're spilling wine around the room, they're throwing up, they're getting into fights. And this was going on in Downing Street while ordinary people were following the rules that those in Number 10 had set. Should the Prime Minister now resign?
No, the Prime Minister's taken responsibility for everything that was happening in Number 10, and he has apologised for that. I think he's set that out properly and rightly so. Obviously, these were things that were happening over a 2-year period, much of which, some of these events, it turns out, looking at the report, the Prime Minister wasn't even in Number 10 at the time. But he has already taken on board some of what was set out in Sue Gray's interim report, and as she's noted in the report today, has already been implementing the changes that were needed to be seen at Number 10 to change that culture and change the structure.
You say that changes have been made, and I'll be honest, I'm struggling to see exactly what changes and who is taking responsibility for it. The Prime Minister isn't resigning. The head of the civil service, Simon Case, isn't resigning. Martin Reynolds, the man who invited 200 people to a party and then emailed to say we seem to have got away with it, he seems to be being moved to another plum job in the civil service. So how is this taking responsibility?
Well, first of all, the Prime Minister has publicly taken responsibility for this. He made that point very specifically on the floor of the House of Commons as well.
Just by saying you're taking responsibility doesn't mean you are
getting away from the... Well, he has taken responsibility. He has said he accepts the findings of the reports. He's accepted the findings of the police's investigations as well. And he has changed the team at Number 10. There's been a very, very big change in the team at Number 10, not least of all the Chief of Staff, obviously. As you say, other people have left Number 10 and different people have come in. There has been a change in structure there. And actually, Sue Gray's report today itself outlines that she acknowledges that there has been change, that she thinks is delivering on what she set out in that interim report, which is what the Prime Minister said he would do. He has done that.
Just to come back in, the head of the civil service, Simon Case, isn't resigning. Martin Reynolds, the man who sent out an email to 200 people, is being moved to another job, we understand. The Prime Minister isn't resigning. There may have been a change in personnel in Number 10, but it seems to be completely unrelated to who actually should be taking responsibility to some of what's going on.
Well, there has been, as you say, change at Number 10. As I say, quite a substantial change at Number 10 in the team that have come in there now and are working through and getting on with the job of working for the country and delivering for people across the country on a whole range of issues. And that's where the focus has been. And as I say, I think it is right that the Sue Gray report itself recommended that there was change. There was clearly a need for some cultural change there. And some of the things in the report today do make difficult reading. And that's why I think it was right the Prime Minister set out as he did on the floor of the House today.
You tweeted to say the PM has apologised unreservedly and is already implementing the recommendations for change. We must now get on and deliver for the British public, as they rightly expect. What is your evidence that the British people do want you to just get on with things and deliver, rather than taking responsibility and for the Prime Minister to resign?
I think there's a number of things come together. I think, look, first of all, we have got an unprecedented situation in this country. We're still recovering from the pressures of COVID and what that's done to our economy and our wider society. Obviously, the fallout from the war in Ukraine and dealing with those issues, but have also had a knock-on effect in terms of food prices and also energy prices, where we're seeing this global pressure on energy prices, this global battle with inflation that is having an impact on people across the country. I think these are issues that people want a government to be focused on and delivering on what they elected us to do in 2019. But I go further than that and say to you, look, over the last few weeks, obviously we've had local elections. One of the things I've seen when I've been out and about talking to people in those elections and actually talking to people outside of election time as well, as I do with my own constituents, is people wanting to see us focused on the issues that are affecting their everyday lives and working, particularly at the moment, to ensure that we get some structure around what is happening in Ukraine, because people do care about what's happening in Ukraine, a sovereign democratic country, and that they believe we're doing the right thing by supporting the people of Ukraine and the Ukrainian government, but also dealing with those issues such as the pressures on cost of living that they're seeing through the pressures on inflation, particularly the challenges around energy that people are seeing. And that's what I'm getting in my mailbox, is what I get when I talk to people on the doorsteps, that they want to see us dealing with those core issues. That's what they elected us to do, and that's what they want to see us deliver on.
Of course, you know, I'm not saying that people don't care about all those things, but people can also care about integrity in public life and whether or not parties were going on in Number 10 while everyone else was following the rules. And the reason I ask for evidence is because the evidence that I'm seeing, you know, a snap poll by YouGov, showing 3 in 5 Britons say Boris Johnson should resign, compared to just 30% who say he should stay in the role. Has the Prime Minister saved his job but lost the next general election for you?
Sorry, I didn't catch all of that, but I think I got enough at the back end of your question there to know what you're saying. Look, as we all know from years of experience, and yourself as a journalist in politics and myself as a politician, is polls are a snapshot in time. The reality is the votes that count are what we see in a general election. Look, I've said before quite openly, I think that Boris Johnson is the right man to be leading our country. I think he will lead the Conservative Party into the next general election, and I do think he will win it. And I think he'll do that because people will see that when they elected us in 2019, they did that on a manifesto that we will have delivered on, and we will be delivering on the things people elected us to do, but also look at those big decisions that the Prime Minister's had to make, whether it's through the decisions around COVID or the decisions with the support for Ukraine. And I think people will see over the months ahead, as we supported people through COVID, we're determined to do everything we can to support people through that global challenge of inflation. And I think getting those big decisions right are another reason why people will put their confidence in the Prime Minister again to see us through the next general election as well.
Now, there's one thing that I am, I'll be honest, a little bit puzzled about today. Sue Gray didn't investigate the alleged party in the Prime Minister's flat that happened on the 13th of November 2020. Now, this is when 5 aides joined the Prime Minister's wife at 6 p.m. The Prime Minister then joined at 8 p.m. Food and alcohol were available, and then it went on into the evening. In your view, was that breaking the rules?
Well, the police have looked at this, and Sue Gray has, well, you've seen what's in Sue Gray's report. Sue Gray looked at it. The police have not fined the Prime Minister beyond the fixed penalty notice that he has already outlined. So clearly, well, the police who looked at everything, and the police and Sue Gray had access to far more details and documentation than either you or I have had, and I respect the decisions they've come to, and I think we've got and I have absolute confidence in the police to have done a thorough job, as they always do. So I think
I'm not talking about the police.
There is a view that those rules were not broken in that way.
I'm not talking about the police investigation, I'm talking about the Sue Gray investigation. And I'm just really puzzled as to why she didn't investigate the one thing, the one event that could have caused the most problems for the Prime Minister, the alleged party that took place inside his own flat. Now, we know Boris Johnson had a meeting with Sue Gray before the publication of this report, instigated by Number 10. Did they discuss at all whether or not the flat party would be investigated?
Well, as Sue Gray has put in her report, obviously she's had access to all the information that she's asked for, and has had information she said in her report that she hadn't asked for, where people have come forward with information. Obviously, the police had the ability to look at anything and everything they wanted to look at. They said they have clearly only issued one fixed penalty notice to the Prime Minister, as he has outlined, and he has dealt with that. Look, as I say, I don't know the details of private meetings. What I can say, as somebody who has worked with Sue Gray, both when she was dealing with ethics and probity in the Cabinet Office and in her role here in Northern Ireland, and her role now in the department looking at issues around the union. Sue Gray is an independently minded, very, very focused professional civil servant, and she will have done whatever she feels was necessary to produce a report that she thinks is right. I don't think anybody could question either her professionalism or independence, and I trust the judgment that she has come to. And I think she's come and written a report that does make difficult reading in places. I think that's why it's right that the Prime Minister outlined, as I said, today, not only his apology, but has taken the action that was recommended in her interim report as well.
In that meeting between the Prime Minister and Sue Gray, is it correct that he suggested that she could drop the report?
I wasn't in a meeting between the Prime Minister and Sue Gray, so I'm not going to comment on a meeting I wasn't in. I think, look, the reality is Sue Gray's report is out there. Sue Gray has published her report. I don't believe for one moment the Prime Minister would have interfered in any way in the report. He has been very clear, and I have to say, in conversation I've seen him outline both publicly and sorry, let me just finish, Sophie. Prime Minister's always been very clear. He wanted to see these reports come through, both Sue Gray's report and the police investigation come to its completion, so that people would have the full facts out there to be able to draw their own conclusions, and for him to be able to outline and answer those points as he has done, both with the interim report with Sue Gray, the fixed penalty notice, and that final report and the statement he's given today.
I'll be honest, I feel like I'm struggling to get the full facts of everything that went on. Do you know, you say you don't know what happened between the Prime Minister and Sue Gray at that meeting. Have you not asked the question? Have you not tried to find out? Because it does feel, you know, if this was a meeting set up by Number 10, ahead of the publication...
No, Sophie, I can answer that very directly. No, I haven't. No, Sophie, it's very simple. No, I haven't, because I have to say, having worked both with the Prime Minister, who I know where his focus is on the issues that affect people across the country, and those domestic issues people want the Prime Minister dealing with around the economy and around those international challenges that we're facing. And actually, as I say, having worked with Sue Gray on a range of issues over the years, I have absolute respect for Sue Gray's independence. Sue Gray will not be somebody who shies away from taking tough decisions and giving tough messages to people when she needs to. And I think she's proven that through her career and with the report today.
OK, so you're very upfront and honest, full credit to say you haven't asked what went on in that meeting between the Prime Minister and Sue Gray. Is that because, really, you don't necessarily want to know the answer? Because if you perhaps did know the answer, it would be a lot more difficult to come on programmes like this and defend the Prime Minister's conduct.
Look, Sophie, I'm always happy to come on your programme in any situation. I've come and talk to you about a whole range of issues and challenges over the years. And no, that's not the reason at all. It's as I just outlined to you. Look, I know the Prime Minister, I work with the Prime Minister, I know Sue Gray and I've worked with Sue Gray in a number of different jobs in government over the years. And I had no question or doubt whatsoever that Sue Gray would put out the report that she wanted to put out with no fear or favour to do the right thing. She is a very professional civil servant and she is somebody who will always speak truth to power. I've experienced that, I've seen her do that, and it's why she's such a talented civil servant.
OK, as you say, you have come on my programme over the years, defending Boris Johnson, defending Theresa May as well, when you were working under her. Definitely one of these people who comes on to, you know, give the defence of the government. So putting that aside, I just want to talk to you as a person for a minute. What would you say to the people in Britain, many of whom made huge sacrifices during the pandemic, some of them who lost loved ones and they weren't even allowed to see them in hospital when they were ill or when they were in care homes? What would you say to them when they look at the reports, they look at what was going on in Number 10?
No, that's a very fair question, Sophie.
Yeah. What would you say?
No, it's a very fair question. And look, obviously I have spoken to people who have been in that situation, both people I know and through work as well. And look, I absolutely understand the upset, the anger, the frustration people have at what they could see was going on and what was happening at Number 10. It's why it's not acceptable. It's why I think it was right that the Prime Minister took those actions. Obviously, Number 10 is not just a place of work, but it's also a home, and it's one of those places, you know, Sophie, that the space in there is used across Number 10 consistently. But that's no excuse for, and particularly, as I say, some of the difficult things in the report today. And one of the comments in there, I think the Prime Minister raised on the floor of the House today as well, around how some of the staff have been spoken to by other people. It's just not acceptable. And that's why it is right. The Prime Minister is very clear about that apology, both to people generally across the country and to those affected by this situation, both in terms of how they've been treated and dealt with in Number 10 and the perception that has created across the country. So look, I do understand that, but that doesn't move away from the reality that I know, and having worked as a member of the Cabinet through COVID, all conversations we've been having in the work I've seen the Prime Minister focused on, whether it's widely for the UK or here in Northern Ireland, his focus has always been on doing the right thing to deliver for people across the country. And that's why I think he has got those big decisions right.
Brandon Lewis, thank you very much for being on the programme today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.